Welcome back to Power Talk News at Talk 1380 WAOK 404-892-2703. And now our very special guest is Stang Brumfield. She is a community activist as well as a family advocate for Tyel Morton. Good morning, Stang.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Great. We thank you so much for being with us this morning. Stang, when I read this story, it is just heartbreaking. So that our listening audience is aware of what's happening there in Indiana, tell us about Tyel's story. What happened to him at school?
It was the end of May, and the seniors were wrapping up, and Tyel goes into, he went into the school, into the ladies' restroom, came out, and apparently someone reported that he had brought in a box, so they went and they called the Indiana State Troopers, they called the bomb squad, bomb and arson, and all of these people came out, and what was discovered is that he had taken an inflatable doll as a senior prank to school. It's actually that simple, and it was a huge overreaction on their part, but they're saying that, well, the initial charge was a terroristic criminal mischief, which was then reduced to institutional criminal mischief, which is a Class C felony. And so he's still looking at doing 2 to 8 years if convicted on the felony count. So I can't for the life of me, and the people that I'm working with cannot just wrap our heads around a senior prank, which is something that high schools have been doing across the country for years and years and years, can be escalated to this point.
Well, now, do you have cameras in your school so that they could review the cameras and see him?
There are cameras in the school, and I live in Missouri. I actually picked up the case online as well and helped develop the advocacy group that's pushing for Tyel. The camera is very, very grainy. There's apparent that there's something. However, at some point, do we become so legalistic that we forget that young people are going to be young people, and if there's an error in discretion or judgment, we have to be able to say, okay, you know what, this is a bad deal on all four sides. Tyel spent a week in jail. When is enough enough?
Well, now, was he dressed in a way like with a hoodie on, or dressed like, in a way that people did not know who he was, or he looked like maybe some kind of criminal going into the girls' room with this box?
The school was already open. From what I do understand, there may have been a hoodie involved, but it wasn't in a sense that I believe it's available on the net somewhere, but it wasn't a situation where it looked like someone was really aiming, or intentionally trying to do anything malicious or harmful, to anything or anyone. It was a heightened response. It was an overreaction. Right,
because the reason I'm asking that is because in reading the information on his website, he was an AB student, so I was thinking if they would have viewed the cameras and they would have seen that it was Tyel, they would have thought, why call the bomb squad and the police and all of this? Why all this overreaction? Unless, let me ask it this way, do you think this is happening to Tyel because he's black?
I think that this is happening to Tyel because we have become so legalistic and so microscopic on things that we have lost our perspective.
And he is 18 years old?
He is 18 years old, and you are correct. He is an AB student. Tyel only missed, I think, 3 days of school the last semester. And as a consequence of this incident, Tyel was banned from the school grounds, so he was unable to participate in commencement. He was on a $30,000 bond when he was arrested and locked up, and it took his family, quite some time to be able to raise the money. The group that I'm working with completely understands that young people have to be accountable for their behavior at some level or another. When you pull a prank of any kind, whether you're an adult or, a student, you do that knowing that there may be some consequences. However, there is no way that we believe that these type of consequences could have been foreseen.
Now, what is the racial makeup of the school?
I'm sorry?
What is the racial makeup of the school? Like, what's the percentage of blacks that go there?
The whole town itself is about 80% white. However, the Morton family has been there. They're a generational family. They're not a new family. They've been through the school district before with prior children. They're very well known and they're very well liked.
Well, I haven't read it anywhere or seen it in any of the sites I've been to. Is it possible that Tyel may have been dating a white girl at the school?
That I'm not sure. I don't know who Tyel was dating or if he was dating anyone at the time. I think it's the situation that there's some embarrassment on the part of Rush County due to the overreaction to the incident. And I think that it's a situation they need a scapegoat. They need some way to justify their overreaction in the eyes of the constituency that's down there, as well as some other factors.
In the meantime,
I think they need to be able to make somebody accountable.
Yeah. In the meantime, this young man's life is going to be ruined should he be convicted and go to jail for 2 to 8 years over bringing a blow-up doll to school. When we return, Stang, if you could please answer these questions for us. Your role, explain us how you got involved with his family, and what is your role and interest in this case. And also, you told us what kind of kid Tyel is. He hasn't had any previous issues, no discipline, no crime. Well, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, acts like a duck, come on, y'all. 404-892-2703. We're News and Talk 1380 WAOK. And the question for our audience: do you think that the justice system just wants to make an example of Tyel? 404-892-2703. We're News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
Rushville student will have to sit in jail a little longer. Tyel Morton faces 2 to 8 years in prison for a senior prank. He dropped off a suspicious package at school. Police later discovered it was just a blow-up doll. Shocking discovery was made only after police evacuated the entire building. 24-Hour News 8's Julian Grace talked to the 18-year-old about what he faces.
Don't let me go. He's sharing a lineup with repeat offenders, people who have had run-ins with the law before.
Some of them were in there for possession and manufacturing of meth, auto theft, and stealing.
He's in jail for a prank, specifically for donning this hoodie and placing a blow-up doll in the girls' restroom.
I just do a senior prank, automatically I'm a felon.
Tyel Morton's bond has been set at $30,000. He must sit until his family comes up with 10%, which would add up to about $3,000.
I'm disappointed that they didn't release him and just let him do his probation and come back and do the court. I'm just baffled that they still got him in there. I think they're just trying to set an example.
How he carried it out caused the response that the school and law enforcement had to go into in this kind of post-Columbine era that we live in. When somebody does something like this in the school, it triggers a very serious response.
Today, Morton's pretrial hearing only lasted 15 minutes. He was then escorted back to the Rush County Jail. As he shuffled back to his cell, he admitted he's learned from this one.
Of course, you learn from your mistakes. I mean, if I'd said no, then yeah, I need to be in these shackles,
Call us at 404-892-2703 on News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
A blow-up doll brought to school, placed it in the girls' room. The news report said he did have a hoodie on, and now he's facing 2 to 8 years in prison with hardened criminals. An AB student, doesn't miss school, not been in trouble before. You tell me. 404-892-2703. Stang, what is your interest in the case, and how did you get involved with Tyel and his family?
I became involved in the case. I'm an independent blogger, and I ran across Tyel's story, and I blogged it, and I reached out to my readers to contact the district attorney's office. I was going to set up a Facebook page, but there was a couple of college students up in Connecticut that had already done so. So we put our heads together, and we decided that we would work collectively to try to see if we couldn't help Tyel in some manner. So we developed freetyelmorton.org, and we started listing resources like ways to donate to the defense fund, people to write, legislators, media, and then we do it's a fairly daily update on, who we've reached out to, who has reached back, the progress of the case, and we work collectively to see whether or not we can get Tyel's story out to people so they can hear and become supportive and understand that adults have to still use discretion. Even though we have laws in place, they are discretionary, and we have to use the best judgment when we're deciding how to proceed with a case. And in this case, we do not believe that the best discretionary judgment was utilized.
Stang, how are his parents holding up?
They are exhausted, but they are optimistic, and they're very, very supportive of Tyel. They do understand that, you know, young people do things and they don't necessarily think them all the way through, and that good judgment comes from experience, and a lot of that comes from bad judgment.
404-892-2703. We'll take a call, Stang. Walter, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. White, and your guest. Is your guest an attorney?
No, she is a community activist, and actually, I mean, just really an angel in Tyel's life. She heard about the story and then decided to get involved. I mean, this is truly, she's an angel in his life.
Okay, yeah, I recognize that. I was just wondering. Here's my question to her. You said this kid had never been in trouble before, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why was he offered first offenders act, pre-trial intervention or anything?
Tyel has never been in any trouble of any kind. There was no intervention. He went from school to jail. He said he did sit in jail for about a week until his family was able to raise the money to get him out, and he is out on bond. He goes back to court on the 2nd of August for a trial.
Okay, this is the reason I was asked, because it seemed like if this kid has never been in trouble and he's an AB student and is a good kid, why didn't they just give him a signature bond? I mean, this is totally overreaction, but I'm not surprised because the system, in my opinion, is doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that's eliminate as many our potential black candidates from the job market who, as possible.